Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's March 23rd. These are your headlines. First up, we've heard about almost 70 more stocked ponds over the last week in Massachusetts and Connecticut. Also, the largemouth bass fishing just keeps getting better across the entire region. And one angler's quest for the record white perch falls just short this week. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
So before we begin, just got a couple of news items to send your way. And the first one is the Connecticut Fishing and Outdoor Show, which runs this weekend, Friday to Sunday. That's the 24th to the 26th. That's at Mohegan Sun, up there in Uncasville, Connecticut. We will be there taking subscriptions and giving away our awesome giveaways from BKK, Fish Bites, and a few other little goodies mixed in there. You can also get a free magazine if you want to check us out. I will be there Saturday morning and all day Sunday. If you want to come and talk fishing, I invite you to come by and say hello. And they have a whole bunch of awesome stuff going on there. They've got seminars from people like Crazy Alberto, Ian Devlin, and even the fisherman's, or friend of the fisherman and of the fishing report here, East End Eddie, will be giving a seminar on Saturday, so you don't want to miss any of that. Lots of kid stuff going on, like casting demos and big aquariums and things like that. So it's really an awesome show. Definitely want to come check that out. Again, that's this weekend at Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut. It runs Friday to Sunday, and we hope to see you there. The other thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing. I did see a couple of photos come in this week, so things are starting to percolate again in the report, or in the contest, I should say. Also finalized the design of my 6-inch darter, which is going to be the prize for this round, which is going to end on May 17th. And by now you guys probably know the drill, but basically it just has to be a recently caught fish and has to show you in the photo. So you got to be holding the fish. Can't lay it on the ground. Send those in to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to me at the number on the screen. I'll compile all the photos. I'll pick my favorite, and someone will win brand new custom wood darter made by me, and we're going to do a second place prize as well. Looks like it's going to be a Yozuri plug or two, so get those into me, and on May 17th we'll pick a winner.
What a catch.
Now, before we get into the actual reports, I want to talk about the largemouth bass fishing, because what I'm going to say applies to the entire southern region of New England. So rather than say it 3 times for Mass, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, I'm just going to say it once, and then you can kind of imply the rest of it as I kind of pepper in largemouth news as we go through the rest of the report. Basically, things are looking very good right now. We're getting really good reports from a lot of highline fishermen. Talked to Dan Southwick over the weekend. I ran into him at a show. He was showing me pictures of some recently caught fish. Heard about some other nice fish that were taken over the last week. I saw some good fish on Instagram taken over the last week. Definitely looks like the night bite is really firing up for those swim bait guys. And then during the day, guys are getting them on swim baits. Guys are getting them on chatter baits. A lot of guys doing damage on suspending jerk baits, and finesse stuff's working really well too. Hearing about hair jigs and Ned rigs, those are getting some fish. And of course, the ubiquitous, conventional, just simple jig is catching a lot of big fish right now too. A couple ways you can increase your odds. You can fish ponds that have a herring run. Not all the runs have a lot of herring in them right now, but most of them, especially in southern New England, are going to have some scout fish going in, and that is enough to get these fish fired up. They see a couple of herring come in, and it just cranks them up a few extra notches. Of course, a trout-stocked pond is going to be a great place. even if the trout are all mostly too big for, or at least you would presume would be too big for some of these largemouth to eat, the biggest fish in the pond will have no problem taking down a 12-inch trout. And it's still going to excite the other fish. It's still going to excite those 3 and 4 pounders that might shy away from taking down a 12-inch fish. But if you go out there with something that looks like a 6-inch version of that, that's going to be something that triggers for them. It's going to be like, whoa, there's one I can eat. So throwing something like a trout-colored 6-inch Huddleston is probably going to be a good bet for you. Another thing is the perch spawn, which really doesn't usually happen until mid-April, but those fish are starting to move inshore now, so if you can find some of that standing vegetation, like bushes or reeds or things like that, there may be some perch starting to push into those, and of course those bass are going to take advantage of that as well. Even if you don't have any of that, though, the bite is just picking up across the region right now. These bass are waking up. We've got beautiful days, many in a row here, and that's only going to serve to fire them up even more. So no matter how you like to do it, if you like to throw big baits like I do, or if you like to go finesse, it doesn't really matter. The fish are biting really well right now. The bass bite is on, and you can apply everything that I just said to everywhere across the region. Now let's move over into Massachusetts, and we'll start things off with James Jewkes.
Well, the weekend for me was a success. I had plenty of largemouth, my target species. I definitely traveled far it, checked out a childhood pond that I used to fish when I was a kid, and that was fun. Everybody else up here on the North Shore is doing well. Today I'm checking out a stocked trout pond, which they haven't stocked yet. A couple guys out here doing some bass fishing as well. But the stocking trucks are making their rounds up this way, so if anybody wants to get a trout, get in there and get them. They'll be plentiful for a little while now. As far as everything else up here, the pike are hammering stuff, the carp, bass, you name it, it's on it. The holdover striped bass situation is going well. The guys that are out there searching for them, doing the overnight thing, catching good fish. Looks like the bass are eating well as every other species. So you better get out there and get fishing. And this is after work time for me too. So enjoy the daylight, everybody. Get out there and get cracking.
Heading down from the North Shore, as we've talked about a little bit in the intro here, the stocking trucks in Massachusetts have been covering a lot of ground. They've been logging some overtime hours, burning a lot of fuel. They stocked 27 bodies of water over the past week by my count. And most of those were kind of centered around like the South Shore, Boston area, and the Cape. So like I know Nickerson, they went through Nickerson and hit all the ponds in there. And I know a lot of the heavy hitters on the Cape got hit too, like Peters Pond and stuff like that. Out in Plymouth, you got Long Pond got hit this week. And then heading further inland, you had some spots like up in Haverhill, had some places out east in Seekonk area. So they've been covering a lot of the state right now. They're putting a lot of fish in, and it's translating to a lot of people hooking up. Talked to many different tackle shops over the last few days in that region. They're all saying, guys are coming in, doing really well, catching trout, and it shouldn't be a surprise, but it's a fact. Just about every method is working. So if you want to go traditional, throw spinners and spoons, you're going to catch fish. You want to go technical and throw trout tricks and suspending jerkbaits, you're going to catch fish. You want to go old school and throw night crawlers or maybe even Velveeta cheese. I have never tried that, but I remember my grandfather talking about it. You're probably going to catch fish. You want to go the easy route, throw some power bait, you're going to catch fish. You want to throw a shiner out there under a bobber, you're going to catch fish. These fish are aggressive, and as I like to say, they don't have any instincts. They're freshly stocked fish, so they're very reactive. Throwing bright colors tends to draw their attention. They just can't help but take a shot at it, you know what I mean? So it's a great time of year to go out there and rack up some numbers. It's also a phenomenal time of year to put kids onto some fish, so keep that in mind. A lot of that bass fishing we were talking about has been taking place on the Cape. There's a lot of herring ponds on the Cape. There's a lot of trout stocked ponds on the Cape, so you can put two and two together there. There's probably a few that get both, so those might be good places to look at as well. To wrap things, actually, got one more thing on the Cape to talk about before I jump inland. Also hearing about more and more holdover striped bass activity in Massachusetts. Saw some pictures of some bigger fish this week, in the 30-inch range. Squirtin Creek has had some fish. Some of those salt ponds along the Nantucket Sound shoreline have had some fish. And some of the more not inland, but some of the further east rivers and ponds have had some fish as well. So that bite is really starting to fire up now, finally. And so that's something else you guys can hang your hats on. And last but not least, in Massachusetts, we're going to jump inland, and we'll talk now to Roy Leyve.
I know it's been a couple weeks since I've last spoke to you. Things have actually digressed a little bit. That colder weather that we got and all the snow that we actually got dumped on pretty good over the last, past week. Town I live in got about 18 inches of snow, and most of the Berkshires got anywhere from 24 to 36 inches of snow. Most of the snow here has melted. Out there, they still do have some snow on the ground, but all that runoff, all that melting has cooled the water down quite a bit, so I'm not seeing the bait fish and the fish that I was visually seeing in the shallows. That's kind of all gone away. I'm still expecting that pike are spawning, crappie, yellow perch, and pickerel, which are next, should be kind of lining up. And spring is here. Yesterday was the first day of spring. Weather has been phenomenal this week, so it's only a matter of time for those water temperatures to get up, and I think in a week or so we should be gangbusters. This week also saw the first stocking of trout in Western Mass. I believe Laurel Lake, I was looking online, was stocked. So the truck should be rolling out this way. If you love trout fishing, it's a good time to get out in the spring and do it. Easy to catch when they first put them in. And that's it. I mean, that's all I got for this week. I am doing some fishing this week, more than last week. So I'll have a better report coming for you next Thursday. All right, catch you later, buddy.
Moving over into Rhode Island, we've been leading with codfish. We're going to lead with codfish again this week. A little change this week. Things took a little bit of a downward turn. Hard to guess exactly why, but if I was pressed, I'd say it's because we're coming off the moon, had faster drifts, harder to target those fish. They're still getting fish. It just was a little bit of a slower pick this week. We'll have to wait till next week to see if my theory holds true, but I'm guessing that it's going to pick back up again. We got good weather. We've got fairly calm seas. Might be a good time to call someone like the Francis Fleet and hop out there and get some codfish. On the freshwater side of things, of course, all trout-stocked waters in Rhode Island are closed right now, so don't mess around with that. But we're hearing more bass, largemouth bass reports in Rhode Island now, and a lot of these fisheries, a lot of the good reports we're hearing are coming from places, Warwick and north, so the northern part of Rhode Island, and then kind of heading out toward the Connecticut border as well. Places like Echo Lake would be a good spot to try. And basically, it's all the same things that we talked about before. Rhode Island is overlooked as far as largemouth bass fishing goes, but there really is some excellent bass fishing in Rhode Island, so don't miss out on that. So that's definitely something you guys can give a try. Another place to try too is Johnson's Pond. That place puts out some good fish at this time of the year. So 2 spots to try there. Heading down south again, we talk a little bit about holdover stripers, which are seeing a bit of a resurgence. Rhode Island has had a slow year again, but since these herring started coming in, since we're seeing a little bit warmer weather, seeing a little more small bait showing up in the estuaries, these fish are starting to wake up. 2 things that you can sort of use to root out some better spots. Places with a herring run, places with white perch. Those are 2 things that have worked for me time and time again over the years. White perch, a lot of them are bite-sized to some of the bigger holdover bass, and then of course the herring, even if those fish can't eat them, it's just the fact that those herring are in the river system and are moving around quickly that just gets them fired up. So also, again, I said it last week, but I'll say it again, don't be afraid to fish bass. Fish something like an SP minnow and rip it, or fast cranking a magic swimmer, or some kind of longer soft plastic swim bait on a swim bait hook. All those things fished quickly, going to draw a lot of attention. It's a great way to catch fish in the springtime, and it's exciting too, because every hit is just thunderous, so a lot of fun. Definitely something worth giving a try. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week.
Hey guys, just dropping myself back into the video here because I forgot a couple things in the Rhode Island report. First one is we're bringing back an old friend. You guys may remember him from the Toby Lipinski days. He did a couple for me in the beginning of my return to the Fisherman here. TJ Kopecky, he's going to start doing video reports again. I saw him at RISA, so I'm excited to have him back. And here's his first installment of 2023.
Thanks, Dave. Hey guys, happy to be reporting again for the Fisherman magazine. I've got a quick little report for you from the East Bay area of Rhode Island and Bristol County, southeastern Mass. Spring is here. We've all been waiting for it. Longer days, warmer sunshine, and that by all means did spark a bite in some of the local ponds here in Swansea. The bass bite was on fire. White perch are definitely on the feed right now. So if you have opportunities to get out and fish for them, now would be the time. Not only the white perch, but yellow perch, crappie, another one. They're getting ready on their pre-spawn to move into the shallow waters from the deeps. So they are going to be feeding. So it's a good opportunity to get out there. Lots of baits to try. I like to use the small gulp smelt. Either on a small jig head, or I would put it on a bobber with a 2 to 3 foot leader and just drop it down and move it slowly across the water, and it's lights out bite. But on top of that, there has been some stockings here in Massachusetts for trout. Old Gristmill Pond and Seekonk, Burris Pond and Seekonk, Lewinbrook Pond in Swansea, all been stocked on the 15th with eastern brook trout, which is a nice species to catch, to actually eat too. They're actually really good to eat. I like to eat them. Other than that, getting to the salt, there hasn't been too much action other than some holdover action up towards the Seekonk River and then the Providence River. Lots of herring. There must be a lot of bait out there because I once again saw another report of dolphins all schooling up bait in Mount Hope Bay. So, and if you had paid attention a couple weeks back on the DEM website, you had saw that they were up in the Taunton River. I'm sure it's probably the same schools of the common dolphins that are in there. So, which is just a good sign that there's a lot of bait up inside of our rivers to forage on. So it won't be long before stripers start getting in here. We just obviously need some warmer weather to get that water temperature up near 50 degrees. So with that, hope you guys get out there and fish in tight lines.
And the second thing I wanted to mention before we jump out of the Rhode Island reports is I just wanted to give you an update on Jeff Sullivan, who, as you may remember, was on a crazy white perch bite early on in March and even the end of February. And he was, these are landlocked fish in a landlocked pond in Rhode Island. And he was saying, that he felt like he had a shot at breaking the state record. Well, he kind of half broke it. He broke the record for length, but he fell 4 ounces shy of the weight record for Rhode Island. So, not too many people can say that they are going to try to break the state record and then actually pretty much do it. He's going to keep trying, he says, but, it's quite a feat. I just wanted to recognize that and also remind you guys that white perch fishing is a lot of fun, and Rhode Island has some really good white perch fishing, both tidal and landlocked. And, these are cousins of the striped bass, so they kind of feed like stripers, they school up like stripers, they blitz like stripers at times. A lot of fun to catch them. You can get them a bunch of different methods, from jigs with little curly tails, little hair jigs tipped with a mealworm, countdowns, little jerk baits. They all work. A lot of fun to catch these fish, and definitely something worth chasing, so you guys should definitely check that out.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Jumping over into Connecticut, the main thing that seems to be getting everybody excited is this catch and release trout season in Connecticut. Since we haven't had that before, COVID, like sort of the emergency trout seasons that we had in 2020 and 2021. kind of spilled over into 2022, and then they just made it law this year, and everybody's loving it. So, you know, we've heard great trout reports from all over the state. The Salmon River's been really good. Highland Lake's been really good. Squance Pond has been really good. East Twin Lake has been really good, and the list goes on and on. The state stocked 40 ponds this week, or 40 ponds and rivers and streams and lakes and all that stuff. You're going to have to check Deep website to see which one is closest to you. But the state's been doing a phenomenal job, as they always do. We're getting great reports from guys out trout fishing, just a lot of fish being caught. And I've seen some sea forellins caught. And another place that's been really good is the Farmington River. And for a little more on that, let's toss it over now to Derrick Kirkpatrick from Connecticut Fish Guides.
Hey Dave, coming to you from the Farmington River. So we have quite a bit of snowpack up in higher elevation on the hills around us, around 1,000 feet, 900 feet. We still have quite a bit of snow, so we're having some fairly warm air temps, which is going to give us some snow melt, and that's going to give us a negative spike on most days. Once that snow is gone, then I think the fishing is really going to explode. We should see a lot of the wild fish coming out of their wintering areas and migrate and spread out throughout the river. There's been some stocking outside of the TMA, so you can run into high numbers. 20, 30 fish days are certainly obtainable if you find some of those pods. Outside of that, the holdover fish and wild fish, that's going to be much more difficult. The high quality fish are being really fussy right now, very specific about what they'll eat, and it can be very technical. But things are certainly going to heat up, so to speak. So I figure within a week and a half, things will probably really start to pick up. In March, we have a lot of windy days. You know, don't fight the technique. Don't try to feed them how you want to feed them. If you have strong wind, go to indicator nymphing. Don't try to tight line a Euro nymph. And that's just not going to be the best technique of the day, so stay versatile. That's all I got this week, Dave. Back to you.
Kind of getting out of the trout realm and heading into the Connecticut River Valley. The Connecticut River, you know, it's had kind of a tumultuous week. We had a lot of runoff and rain, which raised the levels and got it really dirty and full of debris. And all that kind of flushed out, and now things are resuming again. Here in good pan fishing, you know, calico bass, white perch, yellow perch, and the marinas and the coves. Some pike being caught up in Haddam Meadows. Those are pre-spawn fish. Guys are getting them on like loud colored jerk baits, slow rolling spinner baits, or just throwing a live shiner out there, a big live shiner out there under a float. Guys are getting some fish using all those methods. Also, you know, I would call the Connecticut River a world-class pickerel fishery, and that's firing up right now as well. So you can go out there and throw jerk baits or live shiners, and you're going to clean up on the pickerel. You might catch some stripers. You might be able to target some carp. There's so many different species in the Connecticut River. It's just amazing. For a little bit more on the Connecticut River and the surrounding areas, let's toss it over now to Rowan Lytle.
Hey everybody. The weather and the calendar are pretty much in agreement that it is spring now. This is a pretty good time of year to get on monster panfish. With water temperatures starting to creep up in all the Connecticut River coves, especially on these sunny days like we have right now, you can expect water temperatures to start to peak into the 50s here in the next few days. I would expect some temps like that over the weekend and next week. That'll pull your perch and your crappies into shallower water, onto brush piles. The crappies are going to start looking to get into their pre-spawn mode. This is the time to get your absolute giant calicos and some of your biggest white and yellow perch. Big bluegills as well, often overlooked but present in a lot of the Connecticut River coves. We haven't had the melt off from up north yet, but they have a lot of snow on the ground up there. So expect the flows to start to spike and the temperatures will kind of settle back down a little bit when that happens. So if you want a really good early season shot at big panfish, I would do so within about the next week or so, because that melt off will hit us pretty soon here and it'll cool the water temps back down a little bit. But get out there, get after it, fish jigs and minnows under floats. That's the best way to get the giants this time of year. Good luck, everybody.
Heading west from the Connecticut River, you know, you got a couple of trout ponds and rivers in there that are pulling some fish. But most of the people that are heading west are heading to the Housatonic, where the fishing has been awesome again this week. Still no herring reported in the river, but definitely fish chasing down some bigger baits. Guys are doing well, jigging soft plastics deep in the river. But now we're starting to see some more fish along the banks too. Guys are getting them on SP minnows, hydro minnows, little plastic lipped minnows are getting the job done as well. And that's just a sign that more bait fish are waking up. Maybe a couple herring in the river, although we haven't heard that yet. But the Housatonic is putting out the best striper fishing that you're going to find in New England. We're seeing some bigger fish again this week, fish that are over 20 pounds. Nighttime is definitely the best time to get the biggest fish. Daytime is probably going to produce some more numbers for you. But even the daytime fishing has been seeing more and more like 25 to 30 inch fish recently. So things are really starting to wake up there. And it's definitely an exciting time of year to fish the Housatonic. And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully they're going to inspire you to get out there and catch some fish. There's really no excuse not to be fishing right now. It is absolutely beautiful out. Light winds, beautiful weather, and many species now waking up and wanting to eat. So get out there, catch some fish, take some pictures and send them to me. And hey, maybe you win something if you do that. If you're not a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You'll get a full gamut of what we offer there, covering the region from Delaware all the way up to Maine with travel pieces and some stuff on the Great Lakes and every species that you can think of within that region, from tilefish to white perch, from striped bass to largemouth bass to steelhead to anything you can think of. We've got it covered in all different disciplines, from fly and surf to kayak to going offshore to fishing on a stand-up paddleboard. It's all in the magazine, and we'd really love for you guys to come over and check it out. It's $30 for the year. You're going to get 12 issues, paper issues, sent to your house, and then you're going to get 26 sent to your email box digitally throughout the season. We've got reports, we've got videos, we've got it all. So head over there, check it out, and I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.